is my baby.
I'm Dana Denha.
And I am Melissa Bondi, and this is Adventures in Parenthood, where we take a ride on the roller coaster that we call parenting.
The arts are an outlet for many, allowing minds to imagine endless possibilities. As kids grow, the toy shelf starts to collect dust, but channeling creativity through the arts can leave a lasting impression. Melissa, do you find that Bryn enjoys creating art? I do think that both of our daughters are in an age where like don't care as much about toys, but they do. I know Keaton likes to draw and create stuff.
Yeah, I think Bryn highly enjoys art and has for years now. So I'm very grateful and thankful for that because it's not too often you meet kids that don't like some aspect of art, but as they get older, right, it's kind of like, I don't want to color, I don't want to do this, but she definitely still has her hands in everything if it presented to her or given or the art class at school she enjoys. Yeah, she still loves art and all that.
Yeah, I mean, Kiki always says that art's one of her favorite subjects at school, which is nice because I do think there's just something special about coming up with an idea in your head on your own
Mhm.
and creating it from scratch. And even it doesn't matter if it turns out good or not. So,
Mhm.
like for instance, last summer we were all going for a family walk, and I found a window that someone was just like had on, they were throwing it away,
Mm.
they just like had it
Mm.
sitting there. So I brought it home, and it sat in my basement forever. But just this weekend, I had an idea, and I wanted to paint this window, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. And if it turns out crappy, who cares? The window was free. I got it for free. So,
Sure.
anyways, I start doing this thing, and I barely did anything. And Kiki's like, "Can I help you?" And so
Oh
she
my
like starts,
gosh.
and the coolest part is I've
That
never
is
painted on glass before.
okay.
So it's like a weird process that I'm trying to figure out while we're doing this. So we're painting, her and I are painting on the back of it. So we're doing everything backwards. So that was actually kind of a cool aspect of it. But then like because it is glass, after we painted the background, we like went on top of it and like painted stuff on the front of the glass. And then we're gonna paint the frame, and then I have like I'm gonna put something behind it. It's gonna be really cool. I'm really
Oh,
excited about it.
well, yeah. I was
But
going to say the million dollar question, Dana, is where does it go when you're done?
oh,
When
I
it's
actually
completed?
have, so I do have art that I create around the house
Mhm.
because I love having art on the walls. That's like a really big deal to me to have, like, show
Sure.
your creative expression. It doesn't have to be your own art either. It can be art that you buy from other people, it can be prints and stuff like that. But I
Sure.
do like having like something that shows who we are personality wise as a
Mhm.
family on our walls. So people, it's not just pictures of us as a family, it's like the things we enjoy.
That
So
is
a spot upstairs waiting. It's got a hook already. It's waiting.
that's awesome. Well, Dana, I have to tell you, we in the kitchen recently, I decided I wanted to display her artwork, Bryn's artwork, not on the wall, but anything she did sculpture or some type of paint, something she did in school that was other than something to put on the wall. So I started to display it in the kitchen. That's exactly what you're talking about. Like it doesn't just always have to be a picture of the family on the wall. It can be
Yeah.
an expression of, what your family is, does, and love.
Well, and the interesting part is, so Kiki did help me paint the background of it. Rob sanded the frame.
Oh, there you go.
The only person that hasn't done anything on it is Corby, but we actually over Christmas break we created ornaments and I we made them out of salt dough prints and I all the ones I made Kiki actually made the ornament part. I like did the dough part. She rolled it and did that part. But I let Corby paint part of mine and then I
Oh,
added
there
stuff
you
to it. So it was like we were giving gifts to people that we created that all me and the kids created together. And I could honestly say, like, oh, Corby, my 2 year old made this too. And it was like, and he enjoyed it and it was fun. And
go.
this is like what our next guest is here to discuss the importance of art in school age children. The arts are all around us, the music we hear, the entertainment we enjoy, even a unique hairstyle. There's a nonprofit organization inspiring the inner artists in school-age children. Joining us is Tempest NeuCollins, Executive Program and Curriculum Development Director, and Kaila Piepkow, Executive Director for Doodles Academy. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Hi.
Well, let's start with you, Tempest. This is sort of your baby, right? You came up with Doodles Academy.
I did. Yeah, my background is in studio art, and teaching was just a natural extension of that. So I have taught both before, during, and after getting my degree. And I was actually teaching in New York City, when I started Doodles Academy. And Doodles Academy pretty directly stemmed out of my experiences teaching, both seeing the uh, the uneven access that kids had to arts education in their schools, and then the uneven quality of the arts education that was in the schools, even if they did have arts education. So, Doodles was built to address specifically that. And I officially founded it as a nonprofit organization when we were moving out of New York City to have kids. So.
Wow. Kayla, why don't you tell us a little bit about your arts background and what led you to being a part of Doodles Academy?
Yeah, of course. So, my background is in design. I went to art school as well. I had my own branding and design studio for about 5 years, but I always spoke and taught about art on the side, kind of just for the joy and fun of it. So, I have a for-profit background. I ended up selling my business when I got pregnant with my daughter. So, stepped away for that, took a break a little bit, raising my new daughter. And that is when I came across Doodles Academy. I kind of wanted to get back to that joy of art and creating. I really liked doing that with my daughter. So I kind of just started Googling like art teacher, kids art, and Doodles popped up. And when I found them and I read their mission, I was really inspired by it. So I initially applied for a lead teacher position and just absolutely fell in love with the curriculum and the programming that Tempest had come up with. Pretty quickly, my entrepreneurial spirit could not sit still. And me and Tempest kind of just started brainstorming and talking. And we were able to kind of collaborate and figure out this new position for me as a step in as an executive director. It kind of just felt like the next fit and the next step for me. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
But the interesting thing that I noticed about Doodles Academy is it almost feels in a way like you are taking like art classes and like going towards your degree in college, the way you guys broach it.
I think that part of the uniqueness of the curriculum, I mean, we build it very intentionally at this point, but I think that what you're talking about stems a lot from my background as a fine artist. So I went into teaching, and from that background, as well as being a teaching artist, where I was able to kind of like cut my teeth on smaller groups, and create more bespoke curricula, but also see the magic that could happen in that, when you actually have this process-based experience for kids where they have the space to be able to tell their own stories, to make their own connections, and to share things that are important to them, as opposed to curriculum that are more that have like more of a defined outcome. You often see like I refer to these more as like skills-based curriculums, where it's like you're learning a specific skill and you're applying it in a specific way. That can feel, I think, a little bit stilted sometimes. And so I think that's where some of that energy comes from, is just there's so much room for kids to be able to tell their own stories and to share things that are personally relevant and meaningful to them.
So me personally, that's what really drew me to Doodles. And like when I read their mission, and obviously I was like, oh great, art education, access to kids, love that. But once I actually start to read the lesson plans and like going to the school and teaching that, there is just so much depth there and so much thought out with our cross content learning. We weave in literacy, we weave in different perspectives and ideas, artwork discussions. Think it's really thought out, and there's a lot of when we say high quality art curriculum, it really is very high quality. It is not like what we're finding on Pinterest. It is very process based, and it's giving kids the opportunity to explore and express themselves, like Tempest said. And it's always one of my favorite things seen in the classroom is the end results. They have all the same big idea and topic, but the results are all always so varied and different. And it's really exciting to hear the kids then reiterate kind of what we've been teaching them for the past couple of weeks in their own words, and how they took the topics and the ideas that we were presenting to them and how they visually express that, which is always super cool and fun to see.
One of the things that makes our nonprofit so unique is that focus on curriculum. So I mean, like we are really focused on access and increasing access, but like a second, almost equal prong is making sure that they have access to high quality curriculum. And so we don't view like one as more than the other.
So who are the kids that are in your classes? What's the age range? I was telling a friend of mine this weekend that we were interviewing you because they're very much into art, and one of the best kept secrets, right? Is that what people think when they think doodle? Like they're like, who is that? What do they do? I'm like, well, I'm about to find out, you know. So how do you register your students? Where do they come from?
We have three different programs. Articulate is our out of school programming. So that's kind of what we do with Rec and Ed. And Dana, you said your daughter took one of our classes. So we do offer some direct out of school programming, and we offer those in the Ann Arbor Public Schools currently. But we also have our Art of Early Education program, which is our preschool programming. I actually teach that myself at my daughter's preschool. And we actually partner with the YMCA in Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti and train their teachers to bring our curriculum to their organizations. We also have Artistry of Literacy, which is working directly in school with teachers and administrators to get our curriculum. So while we do have a bit of direct programming that students can directly, go to and take, really what we focus on is bringing our curriculum directly to these organizations and training the teachers so that we can have a bigger impact and get that high quality our education out to as many students as possible.
One of the things that you discussed, which is like, it was actually one of my favorite parts about my daughter being in Doodles Academy, was this day when we went there and it was like the last day of class. And they were showing us their work and they showed us, how they came up with the work, like sort of the process. But they all had like an artist statement about their work, which I like they were a lot of 8-year-olds. I think there was a couple, maybe one older kid in the class. But to be able to discuss your art, I don't know how. I mean, it's just like a really important skill to have. And it helps you to be able to discuss other things in your life because you're really delving in deep into your mind to talk about what your art means to you and what this piece means to you. So to me, I thought that was so cute, fun, and educational. Like that was honestly just a beautiful part about Doodles Academy is that you are teaching these kids to create art, but you're also teaching them how to discuss things that they create.
Yeah, the so speaking and listening is actually a core component to building literacy skills. And as I think we mentioned earlier, a lot of our curriculum is cross content related. So we try and incorporate literacy, science, social studies, history, like it's all in there. We have a lot of big ideas that we address. And so what you're talking about, like both the artist statements, but also just being able to look at things and reflect and talk about the connections that you're making are really important and woven into every single lesson. So we always start with an artwork. Look, every class starts with an artwork that the kids discuss. And we use a certain method of discussion where the teacher is acting as facilitator, as opposed to like giving the students information right away about the artwork. So the kids are looking at the artwork, they're finding visual evidence, they're building on one another's observations, and they're coming collectively to a conclusion about that artwork and what it could potentially mean, which is really interesting and cool to watch. And like then they take those skills and like those get applied to like throughout the project. We do a lot of like stop and talks and having students discuss like their process because like you're talking about the final artist statement, which is important, but we also want them to be able to talk about their ideas throughout the whole thing. And so
Mhm.
we have equal emphasis on the artist statement as well as like throughout the process, like being able to stand in front of the class and like be like, this is my work in progress. This is what I want to share with everybody. We do gallery walk, stuff like that. Interestingly, we had a teacher an art teacher that was testing out some of our curriculum in New York, and she said that one of the aides came down and said, "These kids are writing more in art class than they are in their regular classroom because it's just woven in." And I think it's woven in, as you said, like a fun and authentic way because they're able to just share their own thoughts. And because of how we present the art projects, where they are connected to things that kids are interested in like a very like real nuanced and personal way, I think there's not quite as much pressure there. Like we're lucky in that they can like kind of just share their ideas in a way that's a little bit more free form.
Yeah, another component of that is the visual journals. So, in all of our classes, we give the kids visual journals, and we usually start out each class with a prompt. And one of my favorite stories is I was teaching our Mexican El Hebrige project. So that's teaching the kids all about Mexican folk art, and they get to create their own Mexican El Hebrige. And there was a real focus on patterns there. So we were doing artwork discussion on the patterns of the El Hebriges, and we had a visual journal prompt that was like talking about patterns. And it was really cool to see the kids go around and take this question and relate it back to themselves. I had one kid who was like really into soccer, and they started talking about like the soccer ball pattern. Then, we have one kid raise their hand and start going on this really long story about how their parents were fighting about the kitchen tile they were going to pick out because their mom wanted this pattern. So it was really cool to see the kids take this concept and then bring it back to the real life experiences in different ways and connect it. And they were using those skills to not only talk about it, but also write about it.
Well, we're actually going to take just a quick 60-second break, and we'll be back with more from Doodles Academy.
Welcome back to Adventures in Parenthood. We are talking with the Doodles Academy today. So, ladies, tell me about the Academy. And we talked a lot about the schools and the Parks and Rec. And what about is this year round? Is this school year only? And you have summer camps? Tell us a little bit about enrollment like that.
One of the things that we do is focus on developing these partner relationships. And so the answer to that question is fairly nuanced, actually. And it kind of depends on what partners we're working with at any given time. Because we do a lot of curriculum development where we're working with specific organizations that are working with specific groups of kids to help us develop curriculum for like those types of situations. We do have some like recurring regular programs that we do in Ann Arbor. And a lot of that is through Rec and Ed. So we do after school programs. We also do summer camps through Rec and Ed. But we also do partners with like libraries and other organizations to do like free workshops. Like we mentioned, we do go into the schools and do programming through there, like directly with like in the classrooms with the teachers. So those are, I mean, obviously that is based on the school year, but just by
Right.
nature of it being in the schools. But the camps, we have lots of summer camps. We do workshops and programming like that year round. The after school programming through Rec and Ed follows a fairly similar cadence, but sometimes we offer other after school programming that like maybe you have to go to as opposed to it being at your school. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can access that. And we do, if you sign up for our mailing list, we do notify everybody or follow us on social media. We do promote all of that.
Okay. Can you give some examples of the types of art classes or art that you teach? So, if specific, like my daughter likes more of the painting or slime making. That's not, I mean, I'm just saying, like types
Everybody
of
loves
art.
slime making.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But what types of programs or what's the art that you're teaching that you're the kids are interested in?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the board, to be honest. So like I said, we have our three programs. So I would like to talk specifically about our preschool program because I'm actually currently teaching that right now in my daughter's preschool. And like I said, it's very process based. So I just wrapped up a collaborative mural project with the kids. So they all got to learn about murals. That was the big idea. We did a mural walk with them around Ann Arbor. Then they got to work as a class on the murals together. We're now kicking off our lantern making project. So again, we're introducing them to the big idea of what a lantern is, what people all around the world use lanterns for, lantern festivals and celebrations, and then they are actually crafting their own lanterns. In our after school program, we do a little bit more 2D stuff. So it's a lot of watercolor, painting, oil pastels. We're actually currently running an engraving project right now called Persian Miniatures, where our students are learning all about the art of Persian miniatures and that art form in Persia. Again, artwork discussions kind of talking about that. And then they get to talk about what their favorite story is and then craft that and engrave it as well. So as Tempest was mentioning, our stuff is very process based. So it's not like, okay, we're taking a painting class. It is big ideas we're presenting to the kids, getting them to talk about it, digest it. And then there obviously are certain materials and techniques we're using to get to that point, but it's less focused on the painting and more focused on giving kids room to express themselves.
I will say too, based on the one class my daughter took, it was an animal drawing class. So they all had to pick a one animal that they were going to work on all 6 weeks or whatever it was. And I was blown away by her final product. And it wasn't just her, because I know not everyone's like an inner artist, but like you should like just let your creativity flow. That's how I feel personally. Like I feel like art is can be a creative outlet for anyone to just like relieve stress and stuff like that. But I was just really impressed by the sheer work that these kids were coming up with. And I've seen the work that they bring home from school and stuff, and this was a lot better. It was like, I don't know, and if it's your techniques that you're using that are making them create stuff in a different way. But the penguin that my daughter made, I was like, I was shocked. I was shocked that she could do it.
That's all Tempest.
Well, it
Uh-huh.
is it is intentional how we kind of like scaffold all of our programming. So, and this is across the board, whether it's for preschool, elementary school, after school. The only exception being the 1 day workshops, just because they're 1 day workshops. But we always kind of scaffold the skills and the ideas so that they have plenty of time to like explore, brainstorm before like kind of moving to the final product. And then it's normally over a course of at least 5 different like actual making sessions that they are kind of like building their art project. So it just gives them one, it doesn't overwhelm them with too much to do. You know, they can focus on like one small task, and then they can slowly build those skills up over the course of the whole program, as opposed to just like feeling like you have to get it all out at once.
Delve a little deeper into the importance of having art across the board for people that wouldn't necessarily have those opportunities. And we all know that arts are something that are like the first thing to be cut from a school. So it's important to have this after school ability to work on your creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the core of our mission. I mean, like that is what we do. We think of it as a tool for learning and expression. It's not just the access we care about, but it's also the quality of the content. And as you're saying, it makes a huge difference. We always quote the Turnaround Arts study. They got art into the lowest performing 5% of schools across the nation. And in 3 years, they saw a 22% increase in math, a 12% increase in reading, 51% decrease in behavioral problems all around. So we know that art has the power to do all these things. But as you mentioned, there's always usually the first thing to go or the first thing that's undervalued. And that is why Tempest started the nonprofit, and the work we're directly trying to do is make sure that every kid has access to high quality art education. And whether that is providing the free lessons to teachers, the everyday classroom teachers to implement in their programming, for us to do some direct programming after school, we are just trying to kind of fill that gap.
Do you have enrollment from students outside of Ann Arbor or Washtenaw, or is it mostly that's where the students are come from?
We do programming in some of the nearby cities. So programming like Ipsy, we've done programming in Dexter, and actually always looking to expand into others. So hopefully more coming up. But one of the things that Kayla was referring to is all of the stuff that we do here in the Ann Arbor, or I always say Southeast Michigan region. Oh, and we also work with Kalamazoo. Um, But a lot of the stuff that we do here, we actually take what we learn and take the curriculum that we develop and we put it online. And so we actually have thousands of educators across the country using our curriculum in their classrooms.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the
That's
things I noticed was that online, and I was curious if it were classes. I didn't know really how your online aspect worked.
yeah.
We have a new website that we will be launching soon that's going to be a little bit more straightforward. But pretty much right now, we have what we call like the art room. So teachers can go in and download these lessons. And the lessons are in a way that there's video content, there's slideshows. Like it is to empower the everyday classroom teacher to bring art into their classroom. So that, like Tempest said, we here regionally in our after school program, we're testing a lot of the new content, which is super exciting. We're bringing it to Ann Arbor first, kind of. And then from there, once we've kind of ran the program and it's been kid tested and approved and the teachers have been able to peer review it, we then release it to our larger national network of educators.
Well, and you guys are basically helping these kids create an art portfolio, right? With that online, they have their own little art room that they could invite other people to come look at their art and collect the art they're creating over time at Doodles Academy.
Yeah, that's been really, we use an online gallery that tracks them over time. And so yes, some of the kids that have been with Doodles for years, like you can see the progression over the years, which is really fun. And their artist statements over the years.
Well, and talk about doing the art reception for the kids and like actually like talking with businesses and businesses are displaying kids' artworks, which I just think means the world to them. My daughter talked about that all summer.
We actually have a bunch of events. So that is, since we are in Ann Arbor, that's really important to us is just kind of facilitating and fostering that creative community here in Ann Arbor, especially amongst kids. So in the summer, we have our summer art show. So we showcase all the kids' art throughout the school year. We partnered with a bunch of local businesses who displayed it. We also had an opening reception where the kids got to come show their parents the art. In January, we just had our big lantern festival. So that was put on. And we had a guided lantern walk throughout Leslie Science Nature Center. A bunch of local artists actually made their own lanterns. And then we had a bunch of lantern workshops leading up to that event, which kids could go and make their own lanterns. We also have some events coming up in the summer around our magical creature houses, so fairy houses, that we're going to be doing this summer as well. And so we just really want to facilitate that and try to have some like fun community events that families can come out to, still experience the art, but it kind of gives back to the community in a way.
Talking about giving back, before we go, talk about, donating and volunteering. This is a nonprofit.
Doodles Academy, we are a nonprofit. So as we mentioned, we are giving this curriculum to free for teachers. Obviously what we really are trying to do is shape the future of art and have it be the heart of learning. So we're really trying to empower students to thrive, foster creativity, but also just create meaningful change in their communities. Giving kids access to this art is super important. So if that resonates with you, if you, want to see schools and communities have high quality art education, you can definitely join us being part of this movement. We always are looking for volunteers locally for our events. We do also have some needs for after school programming, and then you can also donate as well on our website.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being on the show. It was a great conversation, and I wish all the best for Doodles Academy. I hope it soars.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and very nice to meet you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
If you have an idea for a parenting show topic or guest, talk to us at ctn@a2gov.org.
Or for more on our programming and our services, visit a2gov.org/CTN and visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to watch a full lineup, and remember to like, subscribe, and to share. And thank you for joining us on this adventure in parenthood.